Why are you licking my gobstopper?
Strike that. Reverse it.
Nazi punks! Lick my plate! Renny!
It'll be 10 minutes where it's like a Steven Soderbergh Ocean's 11 movie. It's all slick and funny and stuff. Then just the most horrific shit imaginable happens.
It's because that's what the fucking movie's about, you asshole.
This fucking guy.
The Tree of Life is freaking awesome.
I'm sure you think it is.
Faded to black.
Oh, you are fucking this up.
Neon slime. My basement.
Oh, but I got the right answer!
Oh, no, you fucking didn't, mate.
Jared Leto, man.
You're the worst, dude. If you ever listen to this, Jared Leto, you are the fucking worst. But I'd rather watch that dude, the English dude who looks like he's not done yet.
So, hell, counselor! We are now in the ninth circle! The circle of traitors! Traitors to the country! Traitors to the fellow man! Traitors to God!
You look like a stunned mullet, mate!
A what?
This movie is the opposite of getting laid.
Thank you to all our listeners who have been listening to us for over a year now. Subscribe to us on Apple iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and any other platform that has podcasts. Visit our Patreon page, become a Patreon to get more additional content. Again, we appreciate you listening and keep watching those movies. Now, on with the show.
Hey, Garrick, you ready?
I am ready, man. I am.
Listen, I really appreciate you letting me direct this episode, man. It's 99. I'm pretty hyped up about it. And since we watched Mank, I'm going to do a Fincher and let's take a couple of takes and kind of see what we've got. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, I like to do the one take and be done, because we're stretched for time. But hey, since you're in the driver's seat, let's do it your way today.
All right, when you're ready.
All right, when we're ready. All right, here we go. Welcome to Tales from the Video Store, number 99.
Okay, all right. That was really good. But I think you can do a little bit better than that.
That might be the best that I've ever done. Okay, all right.
We'll
try another one.
Let's lay a couple more down and see how you feel. Really, I want you to really tickle your balls with this one. Get deep with it, okay?
Take two.
Welcome to Tales from the Video Store!
I don't know what about this you're not understanding. I have a vision for this, and just like David Fincher, I'm not gonna fucking stop until I get my vision realized. Let's go again!
Take 37.
Welcome to
Cut! If I'm not happy with it, we're not finished with it.
Fuck.
Take 100, and I can't believe we're fucking still doing this.
Welcome to Tales from the Video Store, number 99, the Dave Fincher version. There you go. Dougie Fincher directs the opener, and we did 100 and God knows how many takes, and that's what you get, man.
It's still not right, but it's fine.
You're right. You're a pretentious asshole. So whatever. Speaking
They'll
of
reshoot it 10 years like Blade Runner.
There you go.
speaking of pretentious assholes, we are covering Mank, David Fincher's new acquired taste that's on Netflix and just got snubbed for the Golden Globes. But before we...
Snubbed is not the word I would use.
Before we get into that conversation, I've got some stuff that's even worse than what you thought Mank was. Renny Harlin is getting greenlit for a new movie, a horror movie about a veteran who comes home from Afghanistan with something more than PTSD. I know.
Probably chlamydia, but...
Lee.
Now, is this a Chinese film? Because he's been working in China for about the past 6 or 7 years.
No, this one is American. This one is called The Refuge. And weigh in on this because I know Renny Harlin, Lee, is your favorite director. I know Deep Blue.
Hey, there was a time. Hey, listen, there was a time in the late '80s and early '90s where Renny Harlin was dialed in on some shit.
Yeah.
I mean, the Long Kiss Goodnight is the shit.
Yes, agreed.
But unfortunately, shortly after that movie's release, whatever he was dialed in on, he just lost.
Now, I can't remember, but didn't he do Cliffhanger?
Yes.
Yeah, that was my favorite of his.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Die Hard 2.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, but it didn't matter. It was John McClane. I think I looked past the directing on that.
And the story?
I just remember, the only thing I remember about Deep Blue Sea is Samuel L. Jackson dying halfway through it and me going, oh, that's awesome! He died halfway through the movie. He's not the lead. That's great.
Yeah.
And then Cutthroat Island. Now, wasn't he married to Gina Davis at some point? That's why she was in all the movies?
He was.
There you go, see?
And I love Gina Davis.
Maybe Fincher likes men. Maybe I can call him and get married to him, and maybe he'll let me do Mank Part 2. The Drunken Days. I don't know.
A man can hope.
Well, all right, so I got some news, and that was some of it, but before we get into the news, I got this thing on Saturday, and I guess Lee did too. Somebody flagged, I don't remember what number it was, that we talked about American History X and in depth.
I don't even know if we did.
We did because it was me, because I watched it and I was talking about how great it was. And remember we talked about Tony, the director?
I think it was just something that you watched one time.
So whatever. So I posted up a picture, probably previewing the podcast or whatever, and it's it's Ed Norton, full skinhead, swastika on his chest, gun in the air. We're a movie podcast, and it got flagged to the point where they were like, your whole membership is in jeopardy.
Yeah, they were going to kick us out of the club.
I mean, kick us off of Facebook forever.
Yeah.
For this picture of Derek Vinyard on a movie podcast page. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember when you posted that?
Man, it wouldn't show. I couldn't go back to the original post because I actually thought about sending them a message so that we weren't on the red. I didn't want to be on the blacklist. Because I basically what I did was I went in and agreed and said I chose their decision. Fine, take it. I don't care. Just take it off. But I worry that because I did that, we're on the blacklist. So the next time that something like that happens, they might just yank us for no reason at all. So my original idea or my original thought was sit down and send them a message and go, hey, listen, you can take this down, but this is the reason we put this up. I don't want any marks on our freaking page because we're not that way.
Right.
And I thought about doing that. Of course I did, and I just decided I was shooting a baseball game and didn't have time to sit down and do it, and didn't want it to sit there and linger. All I saw was, your account is going to be terminated. And I'm like, oh my God, can you imagine our podcast isn't big now, but without that Facebook group and that Facebook page, we're pretty much nothing. So it's like, if we got freaking canceled for a Derek Vinyard picture, that would be like the biggest catastrophe ever.
Well, we've been
maybe worse than you directing the opening.
Go fuck yourself. And listen, we've been warned before over some weird stuff. I remember we were doing the Jalos, and there were a couple of pics of knives with some blood on them from 1975 that they were hell raising about. So I don't know where. I don't know exactly what they're not wanting to see.
Well,
I don't know. Once I posted it was for one of my pick-a-flick, and it was someone smoking, and that got flagged.
Yeah.
For promoting smoking. But it was just such a, I don't know, it seems so, because there's terrible stuff on Facebook.
Yeah.
And it just seems so random. Or I don't know, maybe it's just an algorithm that just picks up a swastika flag. I don't know. I don't really know, but it just seems because it's weird because that was well over a year ago. I know that was pre-pandemic.
Right. Well, and there's a private group that I physically pulled myself out of called the Malicious Gypsy. Now, it's a private group. And in that, because it's a private group, they're able to post gnarly shit like girls taking 6 freaking loads of dicks in her mouth. Like, all this.
Whoa!
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying.
I don't need to know your fucking Sunday night, Garrick.
I'm just saying they just put they put all these awful memes up, but it's allowed because it's a private group, and we're not a private group, are we?
The page is the group is.
See, that's strange,
Page,
but
it must have been on the show page.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so if any of one of our listeners out there, for some odd reason, reported us because they didn't like that picture, man, we were talking about that movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm Not a Nazi.
And you're a cunt.
Yeah, and you're a cunt. You can stop listening.
Yeah, fuck off.
I doubt that really happened. I think Lee's actually probably right. It was probably just an algorithm, and it read the Nazi signs.
But just in case, look, just in case there is someone out there, you're a cunt, and you can fuck off now. Okay. Again, to reiterate, cunt, fuck off. All right.
Fair enough.
Moving on.
What else? What else? We got some news. Well, the Golden Globes happened.
Did they?
I know you guys don't care.
You say so.
Well, that's fine. We don't.
Pass me a shot, David Fincher.
Yeah, the best part of it. Every time he lost, or the 2 times he lost, he took shots. That's pretty good.
Yeah, good for him.
I'm not real sure why. I guess maybe his brother didn't care, but his brother actually wrote the script to Mank, and it was David Fincher sitting there for the award.
I thought that his dad wrote it.
Oh, that's right.
That's his daddy. This was a Father's Day gift, apparently.
Oh, was it?
That I, for some fucking reason, had to sit through.
Okay. Well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
You know what? I'm not even going to speak of the Golden Globes. We know, Nomadland won Best Picture. The problem with the Golden Globes this year, man, is I haven't seen half the movies. I've been so busy, and some of this stuff I just haven't seen everything. So, we'll just skip that. You got some news? I think Lee's got some news.
I did. I was going to mention something real quick. Is that apparently, Paramount's streaming channel, I think, comes out in 2 days on the March 4th, and they're going to do a thing where they. Disney is like HBO is doing their thing where they're going to open the movies and put it on streaming day of, but Paramount is going to do it 5 weeks afterwards. So a movie will come out in the theaters, and then 5 weeks 5 weeks after that, it'll pop up that Friday on Paramount Plus. And I'm going to say that's probably how things are going to be from here on out. I'd say the wait between theatrical and home video is probably just going to, 5 weeks sounds right. Yeah. Once theaters reopen, that'll probably be the norm.
I think that's about right, though. That's when you either start, unless you're a movie like Titanic, and I only use that because of that's the one. It
was in the theaters forever.
Yeah, it was a repeat. It made a ton of money. It wasn't a Star Wars movie. It was Titanic, and it made a ton of money. But unless you're one of those movies like Avatar or The Avengers, 5 weeks is about right.
And they can always bring it back.
Yeah.
I think that they'll pull it, and then if it's something that people are clamoring to see again or want to go to the theaters to see it, they'll re-release it. I think that's going to happen. 100%. They'll do 5 weeks, they'll stream it, and then they'll see what the general consensus is about it, and if it's something that people want to see, they'll put it back in the theater, and I think that's great.
Yeah, I would agree so, as well.
And speaking of Paramount Plus, they're doing that with Mission Impossible, and the new season of Yellowstone opens in June 2021. Yeah. But Taylor Sheridan is the David Fincher of Paramount Plus, because he is now getting ready to do a spinoff of Yellowstone with Ranch 6666 with Jeremy Renner at Paramount Plus. I mean, he can't. Number one, Yellowstone got snubbed at the Golden Globes, but whatever. We won't talk about that. Probably got snubbed because it's all white folk. Fair enough. But Taylor's his new show or this new season, man, it's going to be great. It's got it's got Jeremy Renner from Wind River in it. It's Taylor Sheridan writing. It's going to be fantastic.
Sounds great.
You could care less.
I've never seen one episode. I'm sure it's great. I'll catch it at some point.
But you like Taylor Sheridan.
Sure. Yeah. And you've talked up the show. I have no doubt that it's something good, but you also talked up Mank, so now I'm questioning everything that you've ever said.
I've got a good reason for Mank. Okay?
Hey,
listen, I'm telling you. Just don't pick a fight with me until it's time to pick a fight.
Okay, look. Some cool shit that's happened or is happening. Netflix is basically going to put $500 million into Korean cinema to start streaming or producing. I'm not exactly sure where that money's going, but I think that's
great.
I think it's awesome.
It's better than spending $40 million just to get an Oscar nod for Mank.
Right.
I think that goes without saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that. See, I just keep foreshadowing.
You just keep pushing.
I have a great argument, so just bear with me. All right, well, we got any more news here?
The only other thing I saw was that Spielberg and Tom Hanks are getting together for another World War II miniseries that will be like Band of Brothers and the one where the Pacific. Right. Called Masters. Is it Masters of the Air? I guess about the Flyboys. And, of course, all of us will watch it at some point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It's Hanks and...
About every 10 years, they get that itch that they've got to scratch and do a little tribute. And I think it's great. You know, I enjoyed both of the previous ones. Band of Brothers is amazing.
It's pretty much perfect.
Yeah, the Pacific had some very good episodes. It just, all in all, it just could not compare to Band of Brothers. But it's still very, very good, and I expect this will be amazing as well. So,
yeah, absolutely. I was going to mention one thing, Garrick. It's kind of weird we were talking about Mank. This was not a news thing. This had to do with our Facebook page. Generally, when people post something about a movie, some of it's good, some of it's bad. And James Stegall, who posts a lot about older movies, and he posts like things on like the 30th anniversary of something that was released today and all these sort of things. And he posted, Gary was talking about the Gold Globes. He posted a for your consideration Oscar vote poster for Out of Africa. And literally, if you go to the comments of that, it was just like 10 people shitting on Out of Africa.
I was one of those.
Me, Garrick, just other random people.
Yeah. You had the best gif with the pile of dinosaur dung with Jeff Goldblum or Sam Neill standing behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that... and I think Mike D was like, well, the score was good, Yeah, Out of Africa.
That was the most positive thing that was said, was the score was good.
Yeah,
if there's
it
a
was.
movie that sort of sums up Oscar bait, that's it.
Yeah.
Very true.
It's also the whitest movie ever about Africa.
Yeah, the whitest movie about, the whitest Africa movie ever.
Apparently they were also out of black people that day.
Yeah.
Started filming.
Yes.
That was weird, because most times, somebody posts up in the group, some of it was positive, some of it was negative. This was just like a massive.
Well, now we got a little bit more, too, because, Mike D, I went to film school with him. I know he comes up a lot, but he's very active on our groups and pages.
Oh, yeah.
But
and we appreciate it.
Yeah, he's a guy like me. So he's got a little bit of old school, and he posted out that big essay about Martin Scorsese and how Scorsese said that cinema is being devalued to content. And he's criticizing the modern film industry. And, Chris Hornick, I know Chris, I went to school with Chris. You know Chris. He went to high school with us. He says, he's starting to sound like a bitter old man. And, I of course defended Scorsese by saying he's just old school. And D said, I absolutely disdain watching movies for the first time at home. I think we can all appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's funny because when Robert Rodriguez came on the scene back, I was just getting out of film school, and he was talking about digital, and we were shooting on 16 millimeter, and then suddenly it was video. I was a little grumpy as well because I was like, "Oh man, I'm Alfred Hitchcock. I'm a film student. Hey, I want to."
You were like Jack Horner from Boogie Nights.
Sure. Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Fair enough. But looking back, Rodriguez was absolutely right.
The Colonel.
Time. Yes.
Yes.
I don't suspect Scorsese to be turned because he shot most of his movies on film, and he's in his 80s. He shouldn't have to. He has earned the right to say whatever he wants.
Yeah. And also, like you said, Gary, he's 80 years old. I don't expect Martin Scorsese to love the Avengers.
No. And
Martin Scorsese came out, like, my favorite movie of the year was Endgame. It would weird me out. I'd be like, okay, he has dementia. That's clearly something's wrong with him. Like, I kind of find it weird when someone, like an older celebrity, says something, and it's just people like, they kind of dogpile on. Yeah, they said that. They're old.
Right,
Clearly,
yeah.
If I showed my dad the Avengers, and my dad was born in 35, he would have been like, what is this bullshit?
Yeah.
It just wouldn't appeal to him. This whole everybody has to like the same thing is very weird.
It is very weird. And you know what's funny? I'm in video advertising, and I work in television, and the fucking word content makes my skin crawl. Like, and I have to hear it all the time. This new content. We've got to get this new content. This new content. I fucking hate it. Damn. I hate it. Content is what you write at the beginning of a fucking book. Like, content. Like, hey, I have a film, or I have a video, or I have a clip. I don't have fucking content. Yes, you're right. A masterpiece like Mank isn't content. Yeah, but I'm just saying. Okay, so we're running late, but I gotta cut. Wait, we've got Markel Manning posted up something that reminded me that Brian James died. Great villain. Come on, from Blade Runner. You were speaking of.
Oh yeah.
Great character actor. Was in Tango and Cash.
Tango and Cash. He was in everything.
He's been a bad guy in everything.
Vacation in Southern Comfort, which you watched a few months
ago. Yes.
I mean, he was he was in, and one of my favorite roles is actually as the studio boss in The Player.
Yes.
Which Altman cast him because they kept bringing in like these normal guys. He's like, no, get a movie bad guy to play the studio head, because to everybody in the studio business, they're the bad guy. So he just cast a movie villain.
And he's that guy. He's that guy that's been in so many movies and villains that he's been in so many and done so many good performances that, and I hate this is going to sound crazy, but you don't remember him because he's been in so many. But exactly. He's that guy that's.
Lee, was he in Nemesis?
Oh yeah,
You're damn right he was in Nemesis, and he was in 48 Hours too.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
you have to think about.
I mean, talking about spanning decades in these roles. Man.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
So R.I.P. to Brian James.
And they were both in Vietnam together.
Say again?
I said he was in Nemesis with Tim Thomerson, who was also in a zillion movies, and they were both in Vietnam together.
There you go.
Yeah, so he's just one of those guys. He's a that guy actor. It's like, hey, I've seen that guy in a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's that guy. Oh, dude, not that guy again. That guy, not that guy.
But with Mr. James, it was always, oh yeah, that guy.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, but now he would be like, he would. I don't know. They don't really cast, and I don't mean this as a disrespect against him. They don't really cast ugly actors like that anymore. that have interesting faces. Like, he was just nobody else looked like Byron James. You know?
Nobody.
You know, it just, they don't really cast people like that anymore.
We've been calling him Brian and Byron. What's his fucking name? Does anybody know?
I think it's Byron.
I think it's Byron.
It's Brion. It's Brian.
Or
I've always
Brion.
said Byron.
Okay, so it's Byron. You know what? You're the librarian. I'll believe you. Well, I'm sorry. I was just reading the post. You're probably right. It's Byron. Hey, dude, I'm known to butcher names.
Oh shit! He's already walking. He's already walking it back, Lee. He's already walking it back.
I'm saying I don't know. It's a very weird spelling either way.
Yeah, but
it's that guy. And if you want to know who we're talking about, you don't know who we're talking about, go to our Facebook group, sign up, and go look at Brian James.
There you go.
There you go.
Well said.
Speaking of fucked up names, let's get to Henry Mankiewicz or Walter Mankiewicz or Micah Chickeneckus. Whatever the fuck the name is. So listen, here's the deal. All right, we're going to do this because listen. Let me just...
Why don't you go first?
No, because if I go first, it won't make any sense. That's what I was going to disclaim. So just hold on. Let me speak for 1 second. Okay. I am going to disclaim this right now. I'm not sure how we all agreed to do this movie. I think it was probably me pushing to do this movie.
It's called fucking peer pressure.
Yes, okay. I already know how all this is going to go. And I sympathize with you guys 100%. And I have an explanation for every remark I'm going to make.
Okay.
With that said, Doug.
I want Lee to introduce the movie.
Let me introduce this movie because this is my movie.
Oh,
okay, very good.
All right.
This movie is Mank. It is basically about a drunk screenwriter getting hired by a young Orson Welles to write a script for him because he got carte blanche with RKO Pictures. With that said, they were picking on a guy named William Randall Hearst and decided to base Charles Foster Kane, the lead of Citizen Kane, on this William Randall Hearst, who was a big-time billionaire who married a showgirl and ran newspapers until he went bankrupt, and it was basically at the end of all this, which this movie doesn't show, everybody ends up in shambles. But this movie is literally about Orson Welles hiring Mank to do this script. And then they add some stuff in it, but this is like a small piece of 1934, and it's so random and irrelevant. And this is why not many people will like this movie. So, with that said, I'll introduce you. Lee, you know what? Lee, you go first. I know you hated it.
Okay, it's very, listen, obviously, it's very well made. It's very well shot. You know, everything looks great. It's just, I don't know, it's a big nothing burger. Like, it's just nothing happened.
It's fucking drivel. It is absolutely fucking pointless.
It is. I knew how everything was going to... I mean, I don't know. It's just... I don't know if I didn't know how it was going to happen. Would I be more interested if I... But then again, would you watch this movie if you had never heard of Citizen Kane? I can't imagine you would. So I don't really understand I don't know. It's not very dynamically told. I don't know. It's just... It's a big... It's like a really shiny turd. It looks great on the outside. So the inside is just a turd. There's just nothing to it.
It's like a diamond crusted.
It's like, yeah,
piece
but
of
not even
shit.
like a fresh turd, like one that's dried in the sun. So when you crack it open, it just turns to dust.
There you go.
It's nothing. I mean, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's the most dynamic looking, least dynamic movie of all time. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
did you make it to the end?
That was very fair, Lee. Actually, I thought you were going to rip it apart. That's pretty fair.
I'm trying to be, put in the proper perspective.
That's right in the middle of that's good because I know what Doug's going to say, and then I'm going to go on to the positive part of what you just said. So basically, in this speedometer with 3 needles, you're going to be right in the middle. I'm going to be on one side, and Doug's going to be on another.
He's not in the middle.
We're going to balance this out.
You can't see his face. He's definitely not in the fucking middle. He's trying to ride the middle. He's not in the middle lane.
Let me give you what Bonnie said about it, my girlfriend. She said it was like a dream. You know when you have a dream and you want to run, but your legs won't go anywhere? She's like, she wanted it to go somewhere, it just never did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's good. Yeah. That's very good.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Doug.
Okay, immediately when the fucking thing starts, and...
Wait, just hold on, Doug. Just hold on a second. A text yesterday at 3:36 p.m. from Doug Wall. I fucking hate everything about this so far, and I'm only 11 minutes in.
It's true. It's fucking true. It's fucking... Look, if you want to do something set in that time, that's great, man. That's really cool. If it's something that anybody's ever going to want to know about, and I can't imagine anyone ever needing or wanting to know anything about this fucking story. It's like a fucking Seinfeld episode. It's a fucking big to-do about nothing. It's about absolutely fucking less than nothing. It's fucking drivel. It's just an absolute waste of fucking money and time and talent all the way around. Because the performances were great for what they were. But what the fuck was it? What was it? How many fucking flashbacks are you going to put in there, Fincher Sr.? Because after about the third one, I just stopped even trying. I just stared and just hoped it would fucking end. And eventually it did. And there were some really cool parts. The best part of the whole movie is at the end, when Mank comes to Hearst's home shit-faced and kind of gives that big reveal about what they've done. And that scene made the movie. That was it.
Yeah.
And I still don't even understand exactly what the fuck all of it was about. Like, the way it sounded in the beginning is how movies from those days used to sound. There's a reason that they don't fucking sound like that anymore, because it sounds like shit. It sounded like they were talking into a fucking barrel, and it immediately fucking just... It was like fucking nails on a chalkboard, dude. I could not fucking stand it.
But you enjoyed Planet Terror, and you enjoyed...
I never said that.
And you enjoyed Death Proof, and they were done a certain way to create that 70s grindhouse look.
I get it, man. I think he just went too fucking far.
Maybe.
I think he just went too fucking far. Look, it looks great. The music is fucking fantastic.
Yes.
The feel of it is all spot on, but it's like I said, it's like, why am I fucking... Like, why am I supposed to care? Like, who am I even supposed... Like, who's the main character? Is it Mank? I don't fucking know. They follow him around, but he really doesn't do anything. He doesn't do a fucking thing. He just runs and he has these little fucking mini adventures and one-liners about nothing. And all of it together equal fucking goose egg. It's fucking gross.
Goose egg. All right.
And look, when they were doing the stuff, like when he goes to that shoot and they're showing like, you know, there's like some cowboys out in the field and they've got like that little trolley and doing those running shots. I was thinking of you boys and I was like, I bet they're getting a real chub watching this old school filmmaking. But for just a regular old Joe like me, I could not give a fuck less. I just don't care. Look, I'm glad that Fincher did this for his dad, if that's why he did it. You know, I think that's a very cool thing if you're ever in a position to do something like that for your father. I think that's pretty cool. But It's like a half-told story, is what it feels like. It's like I didn't know any of the enough background.
It's a full-told story to guys like me who know the story.
Right. But then why are you telling the story that...
Right.
Like,
okay, you're spot on.
Yeah,
you're spot on to all this.
And then once it turned in like this weird political thing, I just absolutely zoned the fuck out. I'm pretty sure I had drool hanging out of my mouth at that point. I was just staring at the floor.
Well, the political part, I think, had to do with how he ended up deciding that he was going to go through with it. Because he was on the fence about it, and then after that, he was like, fuck it. I'm going to do it.
I mean, the mayor or Meyer's speech, like when he first gets to his office with Mank and his brother, and they're walking through the hallway, and Mayor of MGM is like giving his whole like come work for us spiel about the company and all this. That part was great. The Don Quixote scene at the end was outstanding. That's it.
Okay.
Sorry, Mank, that you got a share on this writing credit instead of it was all you because Orson Welles was a piece of shit.
Orson Welles also rewrote a bunch of stuff, too. So he probably should get that.
Which they don't say. And they don't discuss that at all.
No.
They make it out like Mank wrote every part of this and that Orson Welles ripped them off is how they make you feel.
Right, well, that's because Orson Welles is a piece of shit. You're exactly right. And Orson Welles didn't... Orson Welles wanted full credit for it. And that was the plan. And I think the Upton Sinclair stuff, the political stuff, was some of the reason that Herman decided last minute to put his foot down and go, you know what, no, I want credit because I've gone through all this shit. I've got a buddy who killed himself because he had Parkinson's. I want credit for this because it's going to ruin me. And the only thing that I've got is this. And the true story is that his brother, if you remember that scene, his brother walks up and says, it's the best thing you wrote, was the reason that Harmon decided to 100% completely pursue getting credit is because he knew it was going to be something special, even if it ruined him. This is Citizen Kane. I could sit here all day and talk about Citizen Kane. So here's my review of this movie. It's a fucking masterpiece. Now wait. It's a masterpiece for guys who know Citizen Kane and know old Hollywood and know this story. Anybody outside of those lines that don't know about Orson Welles and how and William Randall Hearst and their fight back and forth and this whole thing that happened in the 1930s between The Wizard of Oz and Citizen Kane, I'm sure could give a fuck less. I don't understand how Netflix would ever spending $40 million on this movie because nobody gives a shit.
Because it's David Fincher.
Nobody gives a shit. Besides me and maybe Mike D and maybe 10% of the population that's still living. Like my granddad, if my granddad was still alive, if my granddad and grandmom were still alive who loved movies and loved all that shit and loved Citizen Kane, loved Orson Welles and listened to his radio show and was there, back when doctors had a cigarette in their mouth and they were delivering babies with a cigarette in their mouth. If they were all alive, this movie would win Best Picture and be the best thing ever. But nobody gives a fuck because that time is gone. And there's only a certain 1%, 2% like me that looks at this movie and goes, I fucking love it because I know the story and it's done. I mean, the angles are done like Citizen Kane. They even had a film burn. I don't know if you guys noticed, there was a film burn.
The cigarette burns in the corner?
Yes. All that is fucking perfect for a guy like me. For a guy like you, and for a guy like, or a woman like my wife. And
please don't ever compare me to your fucking wife.
I'm just saying, people that don't know this story and don't dig the old Hollywood shit could give a fuck less when I get it.
I like the old Hollywood shit just fine. But there's no story here.
There is a story.
No,
it's a half-told story
through a dozen fucking back and forths. By the time the last scene happens, I have no idea what year it is. I have no idea what's happened, and I don't give a shit. Like, you talking down to me about this movie, you sound like you're like a Civil War reenactor, dude. Like, telling me what I don't know about a fucking event that happened before either of us were fucking even thought about. We weren't even fucking swimming in somebody's sack when this motherfucker was made. I don't give a fuck about Mank. I don't give a fuck about Orson Welles. It's 80 fucking years in the past. He is a name. He was a great director. But just because what happened back then was great does not make this great like you say it does. Not to me.
Fair enough.
Okay.
I thought it was great.
I know. I knew you would. I was like, he's going to fucking love this, but...
This isn't Phantom Thread, though. This isn't something I expect everybody to enjoy. Not everybody's going to enjoy this. This is definitely an acquired taste.
It's funny, when we were watching it, Jody looked at me and she said, "This is worse than that other movie that I hate. What's it called? The one about the dressmaker?" And I said, "Phantom Thread?" And she was like, "Yeah, that's fucking terrible. This is worse than that."
Fair, yeah.
So, like I say, it's for certain people, and I concur with that 1,000%.
Right. I mean, it is, and that's where it is. And if you're not in that 2% that would like something like this,
probably 0.00002%.
So this is where I would, right, sure. So this is where I want to go with this. It is David Fincher, but how does a studio? I mean, what did he do last? Lee, what was his movie? His last? Oh, I guess the Mindhunters.
Well, he's been doing some stuff.
Has he done anything that's good?
What was
his last movie?
Social Network was the last feature film I remember, and then there was...
No, that was 2010. He did the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo remake.
That might be it.
He did, let me think, he did Gone Girl. He did,
which tanked?
Let me see here.
That's not even the point.
I guess does something.
He
spent a lot of time trying to get Disney to. He spent a lot of time trying to get Disney to greenlight this like $300 million version of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which was gonna that was gonna be his Star Wars. And I think he kind of used that he spent so much time on it that he lost out on making things like Mank and other things, you know.
Well, I guess where I'm going with this is that. I mean, Mindhunters is great, but it's an acquired taste. Gone Girl tanked. So where does Netflix decide that they're just going to throw $40 million? That's even a risk for Oscars. It is a risk for Oscars because the people that like that movie are the people that will remember all this bullshit.
They're not part of it anymore. They're gone.
They've been gone.
They've been excommunicated. So
I'm not real sure why Netflix, and this is coming from the guy.
Netflix has so much money to burn. Like Doug was saying, just this year they're spending $500 million on South Korean content.
Yeah.
To use your word, Garrick. They have so much. That $40 million, it really doesn't. I mean,
it's a drop in a bucket, dude.
Amount of money compared to if it wins them their first Oscar, I'm sure they'll view that as money well spent.
Yeah, or even if he does, I mean, I'm sure Trent Reznor and Atticus Rose will go up for. I mean, basically, Netflix maybe spent $40 million to just be in the Oscar race with that and all its other stuff. It's just crazy to me because I'm like, this movie would not even me, if.
What was the movie they did? What was it?
Fucking Renny Harlin walked in with this Mank script.
Was it Roma? Roma?
Roma. Yeah.
Roma? A couple years ago. It's like...
Same shit.
Yeah. It's like throwing a massive name director and just giving him carte blanche to do whatever he wants, hoping that it's going to hit. And, you know...
If it doesn't, they got some Will Smith movie that is going to...
Right.
I don't foresee Mank doing very well at the Oscars because nobody gives a fuck anymore. They don't give a fuck about that anymore. And Orson Welles really was a fucking miserable piece of shit. This guy would order, listen, Orson Welles would order 2 steak dinners and eat them both and buy bottles of scotch and drink them. Like, this guy, everything...
You can look at him and tell he's a fat piece of shit. What the fuck does that mean?
Everything he did was just...
He lived in excess. So what?
Like
I say, dude, I'm not talking about Orson Welles, I'm talking about this movie, and I just... Nope.
Okay. Well... There you go. I agree with you guys wholeheartedly on all that. I just, because of my fetish for old films and the old Hollywood, like the Aviator is one movie I'll always watch over and over again and go, man, I wish I could have lived in that. I would have lived in that time frame.
Yeah, but I wouldn't compare this to the Aviator in any way, shape, or form.
No. I'm talking about just old Hollywood movies.
I absolutely know what you're saying, but yeah.
Like you like Japanese gore, or you like Asian gore movies, right? And that's your thing. Well,
now you got a thing, Lee.
The old school Hollywood for me is my thing.
Right.
The Aviator. You know, the Mank, stuff like this, Citizen Kane, freaking...
right. Well, I mean, there are other
The Searchers, that's my shit.
Early 50s
Maltese Falcon? You big into that?
Once upon a time in Hollywood goes back to those days. So, of course, I love it. Uh-huh. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's an entertaining movie.
Yeah, that was fun. This was not.
Well, we were high as hell, too.
This was like... This. We talked... about this feeling, like ominous feeling about having to watch it almost like it was like homework, and that's exactly what it ended up feeling like.
Right.
Experiencing it. It was in no way entertaining. In no way entertaining. It was like, you better pay attention or you're not going to know what the fuck's going on, and you just are like, I don't care. I just don't care. Fuck you, Fincher. Fuck your shit.
Once upon a time in Hollywood was a strip club. Mank was a girl carved out in a piece of wood in a casket, buried alive in a fucking cemetery. All right, fair enough. Okay, well, let's move on then. So, Mank, hey, whatever.
I will say, if you want to see, there's a movie from the early 50s called The Bad and the Beautiful with Kirk Douglas where he plays a movie producer. It's sort of like, if you want to see a movie done as well, that's the movie I would say to watch. Because because those people are still alive, they sort of changed the names and everything, but it is about real people in Hollywood.
Okay.
But I was checking my watch constantly during Mank. I was like, how long have I been watching this? 90 minutes? 35 minutes. Son of a bitch.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It was dragging its toes big time at the Wall House. Big time.
Well, what else did we watch? Watch anything good besides Mank?
I watched a couple of things. I don't know if they were good or not. Although I did enjoy them both for different reasons. Because we were on the Netflix thing, I decided to look for a Netflix original that I had not seen. I've read quite a bit about I Care a Lot, starring Rosamund Pike and Peter Dinklage.
She won a Golden Globe.
I fucking love her, dude.
Do you?
I just think she's... yes. Here's 5 minutes into the movie, you see a shot of her in court, and she has like this bob haircut, and Jodie says, "You can't pull off that hairstyle without being one cold bitch." And I was like, huh. And she was 100% right. This is the coldest fucking bitch that's ever walked the fucking planet Earth, dude. She is an absolute fucking monster, and so fucking hateable. I wanted to fucking reach through the screen and kill her.
She was hateable in Gone Girl.
She's the same character.
That makes sense. That makes total sense.
She plays this, I don't know, man, brilliant, calculating, heartless savage in both. And she's fucking perfect. This movie's about, she is a professional guardian, and what she does, she's in cahoots with some doctors, and when they find these people, these elderly people who don't have families or in kind of messed up situations, the doctor will just go to her and say, I recommend that you become her guardian. They go to court. They don't even talk to this woman about it. She shows up to their house with papers and police. They take the elderly from the residence, put them in a home, and then she goes about the business of liquidating everything that this person has or has ever had. And that's what she does. And she has a girlfriend partner in this that she does it with. And I hope, look, I'm just going to say, even though I think things like that, I know things like this do happen, in her kind of, in the way that this kind of was done, I don't think it's very realistic. And that's a good thing, but people who take advantage of the elderly should be fucking drawn and quartered out on the fucking, like, White House lawn and then fed to fucking wild dogs. Like, to me, there's, like, outside of abusing children, abusing the elderly, to me, is like the most despicable fucking act that humans can even fucking conceive of. And it made it difficult to watch certain parts of this movie because I was getting fucking enraged, dude. Like, my fucking, like, just infuriation level was like at a fucking 1,000 during certain scenes.
That's why she won. Like, I heard she's an excellent.
But dude, it is a fucking it's a slick fucking movie. It's a little clumpy story-wise because it is, a lot of it is not very believable. But just the whole way it's done, very, very good. Jay Blakeson wrote and directed it. I highly recommend it to you both. But it's
on my list.
But it's got some parts that I was like, oh, this motherfucker. Like, I turned to Jody and I was like, fuck this motherfucking bitch. Like, I just hated her character so much. But damn, man, at the end of the day, you kind of respect her a little bit. As tough as it was. The only other thing I watched was, you remember several years ago, there was a movie that came out called Waterworld.
Yes.
And it was a massive budget that was just a huge loss and just a terrible futuristic, who fucking even knows kind of a story. Well, there was a very similar movie, sci-fi movie, that was made in 1986 called Solar Babies, directed by Alan Johnson. This movie had some hot actors in it. Had Jason Patrick, had Jamie Gertz, had Lucas Haas. Lucas Haas was like the kid who was going to be DiCaprio, but he just never was. And they're homeboys, and I think have been for a long time. I was thinking about that while I was watching.
Which is exactly why Leonardo made it. Lucas Haas didn't.
This movie, this is a sci-fi movie. It takes place on some fucking planet, and they don't have water or much of it. And so these kids play like rollerball hockey, and then there's like these other people, like the bad guys that are kind of like overseers. I'm not really sure because, you know, when I was 11 years old watching this, I just thought it was cool. I had absolutely no idea what the real story was, and then rewatching it again, I see that there really is no story. There's a magic orb, the Blvd, that this group gets that is supposed to save the world, and it's a fucking mess, man. But I like it. I know it is terrible. I know it is, but I fucking love it. It's like you're talking about with From Dusk Till Dawn. It's like I recognize that this is terrible filmmaking, but I couldn't get enough of it as a kid. And rewatching it the other day, I was like, man, fuck yeah. Hell yeah, Lucas Haas. Get it, Blvd, you motherfucker. I loved it. So I hopped on Wikipedia real quick, and I wanted to see, because it looks like it was a pretty expensive movie. It's futuristic, you know, out in the desert, and they've constructed like all these funky looking buildings and stuff, and these little like towns, kind of looking like stuff from like Mad Max, like out in the desert, and these little crazy like tire towns and stuff. Maybe it takes place in the same land. I don't know. I felt like that watching it, like a weird pseudo Mad Max, where these children get this ball and try and save the planet. It had a $25 million budget. Okay. Jeez. With a $1.6 million box office. That might be the worst I've ever seen. For a movie that costs over $20 million, less than $2 million return.
That's why Jason Patrick and Jamie Gertz didn't work after that.
Well, Patrick did okay, and Gertz not so much. Lucas Haas not so much, but I don't necessarily think it's their fault. Look, if you've never seen this, it's from '86. You know what you're going to get. It's a bad sci-fi movie, and I fucking love it.
I remember it being played very regularly on HBO when I was a kid.
I probably watched it a dozen times from '86 to '88. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like I remember it. Like it was constantly on HBO. And I have vague memories of it. I remember the sort of hockey-ish game they play in the glowing ball. Other than that, I don't remember anything about it.
Oh, it's. I think it's on Prime, Lee. So revisit your past and go see Solar Babies. Garrick, have you ever seen Solar Babies?
I don't think I have.
Well, I highly suggest you look it up and give it a day in court.
Check it out.
All right, that's all I watched.
Lee, what'd you watch?
You're never going to watch Solar Babies.
Never.
Well, I had to watch Mank, motherfucker. You can sit down for a 90-minute Solar Babies, okay? Jesus fucking Christ.
What'd you watch, Garrick?
Oh, is it my turn? I watched this a month ago, but because we're on black and white movies, I'll hit it up this time. It was something that got snubbed by the Golden Globes. I didn't think I was going to like, didn't think I was going to appreciate at all. But I gave it a day in court. It's Malcolm and Marie, starring John David Washington and Zendaya. They shot it from a Sam Levinson, Barry Levinson's son. His script, which is amazing because he's a white guy writing very great African-American dialogue. It was fantastic. Everything about it was great. But anyway, so I put this thing on, and I'm like, let's just see. Well, in the first 10 minutes, I said, well, now wait a minute. John David Washington is playing a character named Malcolm, acting as Denzel Washington. He sounds just like his old man in this movie.
He sounds like his dad in everything he's ever done.
It's crazy.
If you close your eyes, you expect.
That's what I say. It's uncanny. Yeah. It's John David Washington playing Denzel Washington playing a guy named Malcolm in this movie. That's how I feel about it.
Okay.
However, listen, it is great. It is literally an hour and a half about Malcolm, John David Washington's character. They just got back from a film premiere where he has showed his first movie, and it's got rave reviews. But unfortunately, it's about Marie, Zendaya, and her drug use and their relationship while she was on drugs. He gets up on at the end of the premiere and forgets to thank her. So this hour and a half long stage play, pretty much is what it is. Two people, that's it. Mm-hmm. Is her trying to get through to him to say, motherfucker, the reason that you're where you are is because of me, even though you look at me with impunity. Because I was on drugs. And it is a very, very, very entertaining hour and a half. The dialogue is sharp as it can be. It's like I told my wife when she came in at one scene and they're motherfucker this and motherfucker that to each other, like in a heated battle, and she's like, that sounds kind of like us sometimes. And I was like, well, this is how people argue. This is how people argue. Like, it was so real and so, like, organic that look, it's a great movie.
Cool.
It's not Mank. It's a story about nothing. But it's the dialogue is sharp and the story is sharp.
There's something else to it.
There's something else to it.
I got you. Okay.
And the other thing I watched was a movie on Shudder. It is the first movie that gave me the creeps since The Witch. And it's called The Dark and the Wicked. Lee, have you seen this yet?
No, I have not.
You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
It is a very, man, I'll tell you what. My kids, man, they are really, they're tough because they always want to watch scary movies. And I'm like...
What was this song? Did you say it was Shudder?
Shudder.
Fuck, of course.
Well, you know, you can log into my...
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, so it's written and directed by Brian Bertino, and he did The Strangers, if you guys remember The Strangers. Man, it was fucking great, and it was scary. And so anyway, let me go back to my thought with my kids. My kids are always constantly, they want to watch a scary movie. And I can't show them really scary movies that I think that are scary because they're just not ready for them. So I guess I was just in a mood and they were wanting to watch a scary movie after I watched this, and I said, watch this one. They were petrified. It is fantastically done. It's great. It's called The Dark and the Wicked. Very small movie about brother and sister who come back to their mom and dad's ranch. Dad's in hospice care. He's in the bed dying, and mom needs help. And within a week, some evil has happened. The devil is there, and some evil takes over pretty much this whole family and haunts them. And it's great. You should watch it. 100%.
All right.
Lee, what about you?
I watched. I listened to. There was a podcast with Quentin Tarantino and Edgar Wright on it. Empire Magazine, the British film magazine.
Yes.
They basically turned them loose for like 2.5, almost 3 hours, with just those two, with Tarantino and Edgar Wright talking. And they were talking about moments in the movie in movie theaters they love, like sitting in a movie theater when somebody reacts to something. And Tarantino talked about a movie I've heard of but never seen, a slasher movie from the early 80s called Hell Night with Linda Blair. And he was absolutely right. There's a scene in it where these sorority and fraternity pledges go get locked in this like old creepy house overnight, and there's a killer in the house. But there's a scene where Linda Blair is talking to her love interest, and he's a really rich guy, and he's telling her how like she's came from like a poor family. Her dad was a mechanic, and she learned to be a mechanic, and that's how she puts her stuff through college, working in a garage. And Tarantino said one of his favorite cinematic moments is at the end, like in every slasher movie, when the girl gets in the car and it doesn't crank. Linda Blair gets out, pops the hood, adjusts the distributor cap, gets back in, and the car cranks up. And he said when the first time he saw it, this big black dude goes, "That's right, that bitch is a mechanic." And he said every time he's shown someone, they say almost the exact same thing. Maybe they don't say bitch, but he said, and when I was watching it, that's exactly what happened. I was like, damn, that's right, she's a mechanic. And it was like, it's an early 80s slasher movie. Having it take place just in a house with all the doors locked was a good choice. There's worse early 80s slasher movies.
Nice.
It's pretty good if you like that type of movie. And the second movie I watched was a movie from 1967 called The St. Valentine's Day Massacre, directed by Roger Corman, and it wasn't an independent movie. It wasn't one of his movies, for like AIP or New World. It was a 20th Century Fox movie. They hired him to make this movie. And it looks fake in a really great way. Like, it looks like it's all sets, it's all like the 20th Century Fox backlot to Chicago, but the way the camera zooms through everyone, and it's narrated. Like when a character walks in, like when Al Capone walks in, Jason Robards plays Al Capone. It says, Alphonse Capone, born, Brooklyn, New York, 1899, blah, 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 dies 1952. And it doesn't, and here's the weird thing, like, because it does it during dialogue scenes, and the dialogue cuts out while it has this introduction. But it's so well done, it doesn't bother you. And like it, they introduced Frank Nitti, Dino Banyan, the Irish, bang leader who dies in the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Because there's so many characters, but it's so well done. Because there's probably, they probably introduced like 20 characters. It sort of starts in the week before, leading up to the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. And it's weird that, after watching it, it's weird that I watched it this week, is Roger Corman wanted to cast Orson Welles as Al Capone. And Fox basically said, no way, he's too difficult, he'll only act in movies he directs. And like 10 years later, in like the 70s, when Orson Welles was just super fat, Roger Corman runs into him at like a party. He's like, I wanted you to play Al Capone in like the mid-60s. And Orson Welles was like, I'd have done that in a minute. I actually knew Al Capone in the 30s. And Roger Corman was like, damn, I should not. He's like, the one time I do a movie for a major studio, I don't do. He missed out on having Orson Welles as Al Capone. But Jason Robards Jason Robards was supposed to play the Irish mob boss. So basically, they just moved everybody up on the cast sheet. But it's really well done. The camera work in it's great. The camera just I don't know how because in the 60s, they didn't have, it must have just been all cranes because it was all like the camera just kind of floats through the movie. But yeah, really cool looking movie.
Nice. Where'd you see it on?
On some Roku channel. I don't know.
Okay.
It shows old movies.
Cool.
All right. Well, I didn't discuss pick. We normally discuss the pick and flick, but I'm going to pick it this week because it is relative to the movie that we are talking about. There is a documentary called "The Battle Over Citizen Kane." It's about 2 hours documentary. It talks to it's very old, but it talks to Orson and everybody about the situation. And if you watch that movie or watch that documentary, yes, there's some boring parts, but if you watch that documentary, it explains the story so that when you do actually watch Mank, at least you have some sort of reference.
It's a companion piece.
Yes.
It's on the 2-disc Orson Citizen Kane DVD.
Right, I was getting ready to say, I don't know if it's streaming, but it's on my Criterion collection of Citizen Kane DVD.
Right.
So there you go. Well, listen, guys, we're running a little bit late. That's okay. It's amazing we've gone this. I figured that nobody would have anything to say about Mank. I know on the end, if you listened to the podcast last week, you got my rendition of what we're doing with the Texas Don't Mess with Texas block. That is correct. We are doing the Don't Mess with Texas block. However, that's going to be in 2 weeks. Next week, we are going to sneak in another one-off of a movie I'm sure all three of us can't wait to see, Coming to America 2. That will be live on March 5th. I guess, actually, will be live about the day that this podcast goes live. So, we're going to do Coming to America next week, and then I'm going to be gone for a week, and then we're going to start Don't Mess with Texas with the Killer Joe, Lone Star, and Extreme Prejudice. So, anyway.
I'm just waiting to do Extreme Prejudice. I'm just killing time till then.
Yeah, I'm sure
y'all motherfuckers ain't getting heard. Y'all thought I talked a lot on the For Dusk Till Dawn episode. Y'all ain't seen nothing.
I don't doubt that. Well, Lone Star will be my talk, and I don't know if anybody out there has seen Killer Joe. The last 20 minutes of that movie is fucking insane.
I love every second of it.
That whole movie is so fucking good. But have you seen it?
I don't know.
All right, well.
Doug, you should get some KFC and watch it.
Is it McConaughey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have McConaughey, but imagine that. Don't Mess with Texas. We have 2 movies with Matthew McConaughey in it, and then 1 movie when he was probably still a baby. So
there you go.
There you go. Well, thanks a lot for listening to this very special and...
If you can't hear, just wipe the mank out of your fucking ears and your eyes and come back next week and hopefully we'll have something better than fucking mank to discuss.
Coming to America 2 could go either way, guys.
I'm scared to fucking death of it. I'm so scared. I'm so scared.
I just want to see Eddie in makeup doing voices.
Listen,
that's really all it's about, isn't it?
I just want to see Eddie as every fucking character doing goofy shit.
Yeah.
Like, a movie could be good, could be bad. It's fucking Eddie Murphy doing multiple characters. Who gives a shit?
It's the same crew that brought you Dolomite. I don't think that there's any way that we will be
disappointed. Yeah. And I'm happy to see Arsenio. Arsenio. Woo, 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 woo.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
He was the man back in the 90s? 80s?
Early 90s? Yeah.
He was the fucking... I stayed up fucking school nights to watch fucking
Arsenio
Hall show, man. That was the
Arsenio
fucking...
Hall
Damn,
show.
dude.
When Bill Clinton played the freaking sax on that shit.
Dude,
I was like, that motherfucker's going to be president.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
I was 12 years old going, I don't know shit, but I know that dude's going to be president.
Yeah.
That's right. All right, then. We'll see you next week.